Hi everyone, welcome to May 2020 and welcome to the season of Taurus. Taurus is all about financial material abundance. It's about comfort, it's about peace, it's about serenity, it's about security, it's about sensual pleasures. And after the time that we have been through, we will be looking to create comfort, support, and security for us in the season of Taurus. Wherever Taurus is in our chart, we endeavor to attract stable material value in that area of our life. It provides us patience, it provides us consistency, it provides us stability to pursue what we truly want to create for long run. This is a time when all of us will be urged to rebuild, urged to build, to buy, to invest, to create physical body changes, to create a calm and affectionate environment for all of us, to find a sweet voice in the middle of this volatility. That is Taurus season for us. But we have to remember, since 2018, Taurus season comes with Uranus. Uranus is completely opposite of Taurus. And that's why it is in its fall sign. It's considered to be at its fall in Uranus. Because Uranus is all about sudden changes. It's about shift in direction. It's about freedom. It's about moving away from tradition. It's about freedom and individuality. But in Taurus, it tends to shake us up from our place of security, from our place of peace, because it wants us to shift direction to a more authentic way of living. It sort of shakes our body to remove the chaff from the wheat. And we'll see that happen as well because Uranus is embedded, especially in this season, in the new moon of Taurus itself. So the month of May, the season of Taurus, all the way till 20th of May, will show you new values. It will show you a shift away from old value system. It will show you a way to create value in a new world that we are about to embark upon. It will show you how to create new financial abundance in the new regime you're going into. Innovation in finances, in money, in assets, in land, in stock market, in our way of doing business, in film industry, in creative industry, in music, in food, in how we create food, in how we treat our Mother Earth. Innovation and shift in attitude in that is what we are about to embark upon. This is where we will shift the way we attain security in life. Carl Jung mentioned we only discover what supports us when everything else we thought supported us doesn't support us anymore. We are in a situation where whatever we thought was secure, comfortable, and supported us is not supporting us anymore. Because we have to find a new source of support and comfort and security. This holds true for both our soul as well as for our body and our Mother Earth. So we'll be looking at creating new talents, new ways of financial abundance, new way of treating Mother Earth, new way of taking care of nature. Our desire, our value, what we appreciate is about to shift. And that is also the theme of Venus retrograde that is about to begin from 13th of May. We are going to see a preview of 2021 in the month of May. Because Saturn standing still, because it's about to go retrograde on 11th of May, is making a very loose square to Uranus and Taurus. This is the hallmark, this aspect, Saturn square Uranus, is the hallmark of 2021. This is a very significant cycle which is about to begin on 14th of February on Valentine's Day of 2021. Saturn and Uranus cycles, they are attached to every significant leap that human civilization has taken in terms of evolvement, in terms of moving away from the old, new ideas, new innovations, new discovery. Saturn is all about structure. It's about old. It's about restrictions. It's about boundaries. Uranus is all about stimulating the collective. The human population and masses, they are stimulated to impel, to take action against the old, to take action against the administration, to take action against the old ways of handling things. And they will create radical change in our existence in the bureaucratic paradigm. There will be a revolution which will happen through a catalyst in early 2020, and in January itself, we have a perfect storm to make that happen. This will definitely have political underpinning underlying that. In January 2020, we will have close to, I believe, 5 planets in square with Uranus at the time. That's the time when most of the planets would be in Aquarius. And Aquarius would be making a square with Uranus. Aquarius and Uranus are two energies which are at conflict with each other, and through that will come the revolution, will come the social change, will come the humanitarian shifts that we need to make for us to move forward. At a personal level, you would have to discover something that you can hold on to in face of volatility. When Saturn is in Aquarius, we create something that we can hold on to for long run in face of volatility. We create that. So don't spiral into doomsday prophecies. We have to keep our eye on our contribution to the society in face of this volatility. When we know that global events are going to go through shift, because they have to go through a shift for us to go to a more lucrative way of living, a more authentic way of living. Before we go deeper into Saturn in Aquarius and Saturn square Uranus, which is a long term transit for 2021 with a preview right now, I would like to give you a lay of land of May 2020. Couple of dates and aspects. The first date to look out for is 7th of May. We have a super moon in Scorpio on 7th of May. Whenever we have a full moon in Scorpio, let alone a super moon in Scorpio, it is the time when collectively we receive some information that we did not have before. There are disclosures, information below the surface that normally comes to light on full moons in Scorpio. And this is a supermoon, which means that moon in its orbit is closest to Earth at the time. So the impact is much more on us, especially on our emotional life at the time. In the time of Taurus, when objectivity, sustenance, and material abundance is the focus, this is the opposite side of Taurus. This is the deeper side. This is looking below the surface to figure out. And both Scorpio and Taurus as archetype have a financial underpinning to it. But Scorpio goes below the surface to bring out certain things we did not know were happening behind the scenes. It also brings out deeper healing. It is a sign of deeper healing, and healing in Scorpio happens because of things coming out in open, some sensitive issues, certain things that were sort of buried below, which are emotional in nature, some thoughts that were hidden below, they will come out in open. But it has an emotional underpinning because it's a super moon and it is in a water sign. So this 7th and 8th of May, especially even a day before 6th of May, can be a rather emotional day, and it's not a good time for communication of business nature. It is a very good time for creative communication, for deeper discussion, for a release or talk to a friend or a colleague on an emotional basis. It's a good time to sort of get something out of the way which is of sensitive nature within personal situation. But for negotiations, for sensitive issues, for delegation, it's better to sort of not not engage on 6th, 7th, and 8th. So business discussions should be delayed. In fact, just a day or two after that, 9th and 10th of May, they're amazing for financial discussions, amazing for business discussions, because Mercury is making a positive aspect with Jupiter and Pluto. We can get very, very convincing in our perspective. If you have a conversation on 6th, 7th, or 8th, be careful that it can get emotional very quickly, or it's better to use emotions to convince people versus the objective figures, etc. You'll have a problem in doing that. There'll be an emotional underpinning to the communication, because the full moon in Scorpio is being opposed by Mercury. So Mercury in Taurus is going to oppose it. So there's a conflict between the logic and the mind and the heart. There's an inherent conflict always in a full moon between the mind and the heart, but this Mercury will enhance that. But it's a very positive full moon because it's being positively aspected with Neptune. It's a healing full moon. It is a deep full moon which will collectively help us sort of move away from an old chapter. It brings a closure. It brings some amount of healing to the collective. It is a full moon of surrender as well. The degree at which it's happening, which is 17 degree of Scorpio, is a degree of release and surrender to higher powers. There is a deep and complete surrender which happens psychologically to will of God or higher powers, whosoever you believe or have faith in. But there's a detachment from fear which happens to some extent, which brings about a healing of its own. So I am really looking forward to it. It's actually my full moon. It's happening on my ascendant. So that's on 7th of May. And then we have 9th and 10th of May when we have Mercury meeting Jupiter and Pluto. Jupiter and Pluto, as I mentioned in the previous videos, they're sitting together with each other all the way till November. Their job is to remove the old way of growth and propel us into a new way of growing. We will restructure the way we do our jobs, the way the corporations exist. We'll restructure for power at an individual level, at autonomy at a individual level. We'll be seeking more standalone focus in our jobs. We would want to either move away from jobs and have our own, but we'll grow through this crisis in a very, very significant fashion because of these two together. So there's something about the new shoots, the new roots that you're putting down of abundance, some growth in that, some light at the end of the tunnel in terms of how can you move forward from here and achieve growth. Those discussions will happen, in my view, on 9th and 10th of May, and they will continue to sort of exist around 15th to 17th of May as well. 15th to 17th of May is when Sun is meeting this combination, so we will see some rewards maybe come through, some first signs of recovery coming through, from first signs of positivity coming through when it comes to our individual financial situations. This is not the collective, this is individually. So at an individual level, these are great dates for us to sort of make something solid in our material abundance, to do business transactions, to figure out how do we move out of this, how would it look like after the crisis over, where do we move from here. So 9th and 10th of May and 15th to 17th of May are great dates this month for us to leverage for business, for commerce, for negotiations, for work. Jupiter is going retrograde actually, so it will be standing still at the early part of the month, and Jupiter standing still is whenever a planet is about to go retrograde, its whole basis becomes very strong. Its effect becomes very strong. It is applying its energy strong. It's like when a train is turning or a huge lorry is turning. It's like the gears are like totally digging in. So Jupiter is sort of just about to turn on 14th of May, and it would try to deliver something before it turns retrograde. So you'll find that around 14, 15, 16, 17, Jupiter will try to give some source of growth, or at least a knowledge that about how the growth will happen. But when a planet goes retrograde, like Jupiter, which has material impact on our life, what happens is that we have to take a step back to figure out how to take that turn, how to take that new route. So something is normally given to us when Jupiter is about to go retrograde. Something might be given to you in these dates around 14th of May, but it will have to hold on for you to plan carefully whether this is what you truly want, or this is the way you want to grow it, or how do I grow it to the level I want to take it to. So some reconsiderations will happen, and you will embellish that opportunity between 14th of May to 12th of September. September is when both Jupiter and Saturn will go direct. Saturn is also going retrograde on 11th of May, and Saturn is going to stand still early part of the May, and that's it gives us discipline to approach finances. It can cause a little bit of repression, which I'll talk about in the Saturn in Aquarius after the rundown of May, to tell you more about it. So, but just briefly, when Saturn goes retrograde, which it will be till September, you essentially create the boundaries, you create new rules, you create new, at an individual as well as at collective levels, new structures are created. But structures of rules are created. Where did we say yes, where we should have said no? So there's a look back of events of this year, because Saturn has walked through the degrees that it is going to walk back since February. So Saturn entered these degrees around February. So all the events from February till May, we will review them back, and certain rules, regulations, restrictions, boundaries will be put in place to handle those situations better in longer term. And at an individual level as well, in your own job, in your own work, in your own capacities, you will try to figure out what I could have done, or how do I handle this going forward. And we'll be putting the structure of the new world during this time till September to face it head on after September. So these are the dates. Then I spoke about Venus retrograde in detail separately, but on 13th of May, Venus is going retrograde, and it will stay retrograde till 25th of June. When Venus goes retrograde, especially when it's going retrograde in Gemini, that's the time when communication and partnerships comes into focus. We are taught how to have a fair communication, how to speak up in personal and professional relationships to get what we truly want, to not hide our desires below the surface, not ask for the things so you will be speaking up more in creative field. In love and relationships, there will be review and growth of those relationships and creative processes will go through embellishments. Global diplomacy, agreements globally between countries, between allies in the countries, that will go through restructuring during Venus retrograde as well. I did a very long note on the summer eclipses. I'll put the link below as well, in which I spoke about in detail on impact of the eclipses on countries. And I do believe that there could be a diplomatic issue which can reach its head, or its peak in the first week of June, which will be as a result of this Venus retrograde, because people will walk back on their promises, or they will review what they promised to other countries. Other diplomatic relationships will go through, and we are already seeing some of it because Venus is in shadow period right now. I spoke about it in the Venus retrograde videos that I did earlier for you. So that's one. And then throughout this month, Venus is in square with Neptune. Venus is in square with Neptune. The exact dates are 3rd of May and 20th of May. But when Venus is in square with Neptune, it's beautiful for creative, it's beautiful for spirituality. It's two planets which actually donate love. They represent love. Venus is love with each other, love for self, and Neptune is love for the collective, so the higher octave of love. These two planets, though at square with each other, represent some amount of insecurity that is felt about our sense of self, our abundance, about money. There could be an underlying theme of not knowing where we are going financially, how we would be taken care of, are we being taken advantage of by somebody in our life. There could be a theme of being taken for a ride by somebody, and this could this could lead to a bit of self-indulgent phase in emotions, which we have to look out for. I spoke about it in the Venus retrograde video as well. Venus square Neptune, Tina Turner and Nicolas Cage, both of them have that in their natal chart. So you go between the extremes of being creative and highly you can create something out of this world, out of this aspect, because your imagination, your creativity, your ability to emote is so high with this aspect. But your ability to emote is so high with this aspect, there is a problem that can come from it, which is that we can become self-indulgent in emotions. We can feel too sorry for ourselves, which we want to be looking out for. Similarly, in personal relationships, we should be careful to not mix business with emotions here, because it's possible that we could be taken for a ride when it comes to financial matters by somebody. We could be misled by somebody who we love in concrete, practical matters. And that's a real scare this month, because Venus is standing still and going retrograde. It's very, very strong. And Neptune is making a difficult aspect with it. It is making us not see things clearly when it comes to our personal relationships. So you want to be a little bit careful. Similarly, if we have any kind of addiction, if we are sort of attached to something, especially sugary things, or something that we think it brings us comfort, we are addicted to something which is not good for us, you want to be careful, because as I said, this is a self-indulgent aspect. We can do too much of it. It's not very good for investment. So 3rd of May and 20th of May, they are not good for signing some papers or any investment ideas or business work. It's very, very good for compassion, for creativity. But these dates, 3rd and 20th of May, I would not suggest you to sign any papers. But largely they are square this month, and Venus is going retrograde as well. So you know that matters related to heart, related to relationships, our trust on each other, and whether we are telling each other the truth or not, that can come into question. So that's what we have. And then, of course, we have the nodes transiting, which is a long-term transit. On 5th of May, North Node is moving into Gemini, and that is all the way till for the next 18 months. And I spoke about it again in detail in the video about this node transfer, because it shifts the road to success. I'm doing very detailed by sign videos as well for it. It's taking everything I have while doing that, because it's quite an involved process. It tells you your soul path for the next 18 months. But generally, one thing, if I can leave you with over here, is that North Node in Gemini is about staying in the present moment. It's about focusing on what you're thinking, how you're talking. Are you creating the kind of world you want from your words, from your thoughts, or not? Because I thoroughly believe when North Node, which is a karmic point, is in the sign that represents communication and thinking, we, through our mind, through our words, start creating what we want out of the new world. So collectively, I think it puts us in a position to talk positively about where we're going, or to speak about what we want to create in our personal life. But generally, Venus in Gemini is about keeping an objective mind without prejudice. We lose out if we have prejudices. It's about having unconditioned mind and using the data at hand that we have to do the things that we need to do, versus a preconceived notion or faith or cult or a group of people dominating and telling us what we should be doing. It should be more objective, based on the current information. And when North Node is in Gemini, misinformation becomes much more common. People start having fears about things that don't really exist. There's a little bit of loss of faith, because South Node is in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is the sign of belief. South Node is the point of release. So old beliefs are being released, but some people lose faith in the process of doing that. This is the same position which was there after 9/11. So imagine the time after 9/11, everything that Sagittarius represents: transportation, international relationships, trade, travel, higher education which is 30,000 feet, having, and religion, cults, those kind of things. And I'm talking about archetype, what does Sagittarius as an archetype represents in mundane astrology, those things will go through a release. If we move towards that, we will lose. Gemini is all about local community. It's about communication using objective data. It's about learning new skill set which are practical in nature. It's about connecting with people in your immediate environment and finding opportunities over there. So thinking in those terms, I think is the road to success, and staying in the current moment, not having a 2030 plan, but figuring out the now plan, figuring out what you need to do now, and being skillful about it, being intellectual about it, using your mind and your speech versus your feelings and your emotions and your thought process and faith, which are great for your spiritual growth, but for your material growth, that's not going to serve you well. It's better to use that to give you comfort in this moment rather than using it for business at this point in time. So that's what I have for you. We do have eclipses coming in June. June eclipses will start showing up towards the end of May. I'll speak about it separately because we have a major eclipse season happening in June, which is I wrote a note on it. I'll put the link below. Let's talk about Saturn now.